They met a third one. He defeated the third one. So he and the young women continued running. The one he met on the sixth encounter was a little larger. They butted each other longer upon this occasion, but still, the young man won. After starting for the seventh time, the young man and the young woman continued, running with the young man in the middle until they met the seventh man. This seventh one was almost all black with little white spots, and he had huge antlers. They fought for a long, long time, and after the young man was butted the seventh time, he lost. So the young man returned, and the winner, the huge black one, took the two girls away. He returned to the old man and said, "I have lost." After a while, the two young women returned, and when they changed their clothes, they became human again. This old man was not just an ordinary human being. He was more powerful. He was thunder. While the young man was running, this man Thunder was helping him to be stronger with his thunder and lightning. That was the reason why the old man remained at the starting place. He was conjuring the big horned deer that were fighting the young man. The reason that the young man lost was that it was not yet time for him to have a young woman. When he returned to the old man, he changed his clothes and he became an ordinary man again. The young man said, "I suppose I'll leave now." But the young women didn't want him to go. "Stay with us a little while longer," they said. So he remained quite a while with them, and they visited about near the place. They visited the various activities that were going on. These young women were young little people. The little people can change themselves into other creatures. If they say, "Let me be like this," they can change themselves into creatures that live in the woods. That's the way it was then, at the time of this story. Then the young man returned home, which is very near where the stomp dances took place. When he went home, the two young women took him, and they took him as far as where they had first met him, at the stomp dance. There was a stomp dance going on when they arrived there. At this dance there were real people only, and when they arrived there he saw his brother. "Where did you go? You were so long," his brother asked. "I can't tell you how far I went. I was with these young women who dance here a very long time," he said. His brother asked, "What was it like where you went?" "Well, there was so much to tell that one cannot tell it all. You see, I entered a race, and I was told that if I won it, I could have both of these young women," he said. "But you see, I lost. You see, when we fought, I was beaten upon the seventh encounter. That's the reason why they have brought me back. I wouldn't have returned if I had won." "Well, well," the other brother said. When the dance was over, they returned home together. They lived with their grandmother. Their grandmother said, "Where have you been? You have been gone so long." "Just out there visiting around," he said. "Well, what were you doing?" she said. "I was visiting at somebody's house," he said. He became ill from thinking about these young women. They made him ill. Every day he grew weaker. He thought only of how the women looked. They made him a bed out on the porch because he was growing so ill. He became very weak, too weak to be moved about. As he lay upon his bed on the porch, he had his pillow folded so that he was in a sitting position, and he could look around him and could see the path that went down the hill to the spring. While his grandmother was attending him, sitting close by, The young man kept gazing toward the path. After a while, a beautiful young woman with 2 children appeared from the direction. The children that she had with her were beautiful. They were a boy and a girl. The energetic children saw him as he lay upon his pillow, ran to him, and cried, "Father! Father! Father!" and romped all over him. When the young woman came up, she began to attend him. The grandmother thought to herself, "He never had a woman friend. I didn't know there was a woman that he had been courting," the grandmother thought. After the 3rd day, the young woman decided to get some water and took a bucket down to the stream. When she went to get the water, the children followed her. Or no, the children remained and kept on playing near their father. He was their father, wasn't he? The grandmother was still astounded at what she was seeing. When the young woman went to get the water, the grandmother decided that this was her opportunity to question him about her. So she asked him, "Where did this beautiful woman that you have been courting live?" "I didn't know, so I am amazed. You see, we don't have such beautiful women in this vicinity, and those that come from far off are not as beautiful as she is," she told him. "Yes, that's true," he said. "You see, I went to a place that I had never been before, and I was with 2 women there, and this is one of them." As he said that, the young woman was coming up the hill, and she heard him. She dropped her bucket and began to run. The little children followed her, and they all had gone but a little way when they changed into deer, a doe and 2 fawns. They disappeared into the forest. This was told a long time ago by the old people who were living then. That's what happened in those days. The conjurers followed and observed the little people. That's why they could see such strange things happen. They say that there is another world just like this under this one, but we can't go there. But in those days, human beings and the little people associated with each other. That's what happened to the young man, they say. That's all I know. Now this one begins inside information. Quite a few of the Eastern Band Cherokee incantations that have been translated and made available in inspection through publication deal with attracting or retaining the affection of someone of the opposite sex, or with the nullification of the charms of a rival. To the best of our knowledge, no parallel study has ever been made among the Oklahoma division of the tribe. The language of these charms, bristling with the most formidable of archaisms, sometimes rises to towering poetic heights, but is also sometimes all but unintelligible to the laity. We have here 2 tales of love charms obtained directly from the supernatural source. And I still see some of this today in tribal members from other tribes, talking about magic or spells a little bit. And I just thought it was amusing that I had a former girlfriend accuse me of putting a spell on her, and I couldn't tell if she was serious or joking around or what, but it was that I just found that amusing. So I think I'll always remember that one. Anyhow, moving on to the story. And I don't. I'll interrupt for a second. I don't mean to sound critical or making fun. I believe in that stuff too, but I never intentionally put on any kind of a spell. So I just thought that story was kind of amusing. So moving on to this story. The little person of the hunter. These people that lived long ago, called the little people, were very powerful. They say that they could transform themselves into other people. They had only to see a person that they wanted to be, and they could change themselves into that person. If we saw them, and they saw us, they could transform themselves into us. They say that little people are very much like real people. The women are beautiful with long hair. Once upon a time, there was a young man who was a hunter. While this young man was sitting in the shade, watching for squirrels, he heard some singing away down in the valley. When he heard this singing, he turned and looked all around him, but he didn't see anyone. He saw a grapevine swinging and kept hearing the singing. He wanted to see who was doing it, causing the grapevine to swing and doing the singing. Finally, much later, he saw a small man sitting upon the grapevine. He was grasping the grapevine and singing. This little person had said he sang. And I'm not going to try and sing this, but I wish I could hear it. If it's recorded somewhere, I'd love to hear it. That's what the little person said when he sang. The young squirrel hunter was told to sit down and learn this song. You must say this whenever there is a young woman who is indifferent toward you. You must sing this song that I have sung for you, and you must think of the young woman's name. Early in the morning when the sun comes up, when it is very large and red, you must face the sun and sing the song. You can't fail to get the woman you want if you will sing this song that I have taught you. That is what the squirrel hunter was told. That's how the hunter learned that these little people were so powerful. If we but see them, they can bewitch us, and all the more so if they have just sung this song. That's what happened to this young hunter. He was put under an enchantment. He saw the supernatural being that he desired to see. That to be an enchanter himself was what he was taught to do. All the adults after his time taught this same magic to the young folk. All the young folk began to work this magic on each other. Much later they lost this magic. The older folks said that the little people caused them to forget the magic, that the little people took it back. My father told me that. Zali Uskazit was my father. That's all I know. One can tell very interesting things about these little people that were told by our forefathers. These little people were very aniktana, sikwanid. And then here's another story. Tsukud Salala. That's the name of the story. There was something that could fly that was very much like little people called Tsukud Salala, which was a bird. This bird, whose name was Tsutsut Salala, sorry, I'll try one more time. Tsukud Salala was beautiful in appearance. It was speckled like a quail, but much more beautiful than a quail. You had but to see it, and it could bewitch you. It also sang. Somewhere a young man who was inebriated was walking near a fence, and this time the poke salad berries were ripening, and poke salad usually grows up against fences. Tsukud Salala was sitting upon these poke salad plants, and he had eaten too many berries. The young man who was walking heard someone singing. He went directly to the poke salad patch to find out who was singing. He saw a small bird sitting there singing its own name, Tsukud Salala. So the bird bewitched the young man. He stood there and looked at it quite a while. He said, as he told about it, the young man sat down after he heard the singing and looked at Tsukud Salala. The old people had told him what the bird looked like, and he knew what it was. So now he had an opportunity to see it, this bird called Tsukud Salala, and when he saw it, he was bewitched because he had heard the singing. So when he heard the singing, he learned the song. The bird was singing his song by saying his own name, Tsukud Salala. This is what he was saying when he was singing. And again, I wish I had a recording. That'd be great, but I'm not going to attempt this. That's what he said when he sang. That's how Tsukud Salala sang, said the older people of long ago, and that's what was told to me. I suppose it is true because Tsukud Salala bewitched the young man. You must sing this if there is ever a young woman you want to marry, and you won't fail to get her, he was told. That's what he was told. The older people said. He was given something to make himself supernaturally more attractive.